What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. It looks like we have a lead dog in the head coach race. Mike Vrabel has stepped up, or at least we've gotten some information according to Rich Cimini that he is indeed interested in the New York Jets head coach positioning that is open. And there's two main points around this, right? So I want to get into the quotes, if you will, that we got from Rich Cimini, and then we'll kind of break it down from there. But it goes, ESPN's Rich Cimini said on the Flight Desk podcast that former Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel has told people that he is open to taking the job. However, he would only fill the vacancy if he approves of the general manager hire. He goes on to say it doesn't care what Bill Belichick, the former head coach of New England Patriots, might think of Jets owner Woody Johnson, and that he would interview and decide on his own, per Cimini. Now, the two main takeaways, or three potentially anyways, definitely that the interest is there, which is great news, especially for people that wanted someone that had head coach experience, which he does. He actually is one of the few candidates out there that were former head coaches that actually had a positive record at the time that they were let go. Secondly, the first power play here is essentially on the board, right? This shouldn't really be a chess match, but it feels like it almost. Mike Vrabel already is instilling that he's not going to be a pushover within this organization, which I think you have to. By the way, I don't agree necessarily with this sentiment from him per se, but you almost have to have that mentality to make sure that you're going to be on the same page, right? Now, the reason I don't agree is simply just from a hierarchy standpoint. I think the head coach should effectively report to the GM, who should effectively report, to the ownership. We've seen plenty of other models. We've seen where head coach and general manager are on equal planes for the New York Jets. We've seen it where the head coach has actually stolen power effectively from the GM and really diminished what they can do outside of acquiring or letting go of some personnel in some cases. And I just don't think those have worked nearly as much as anything else that we've tried to do, right? So in this case, I don't agree with the standpoint that he should pick the GM. I think the benefit that you would get there, though, is that he knows whatever GM would be in the building, he's in lockstep with, right? Obviously, everybody's coming in on the same schedule, effectively, right? New GM, new head coach, of hopefully a new quarterback, or at least you're going to Tyrod, and you brought in another quarterback to compete with Jordan Travis. But the main goal here is that everybody is on an equal playing field. There's no difference in timelines between how we should get this thing rebuilt. And that's really the best way to go about, once again, having another rebuild, in my opinion, with the moves that we've already made, trying to push all of our chips into the table. The other piece is, and this is crucial because we've been on this kind of tirade about how bad of an owner Woody Johnson is. I just talked about the interest that Jeff Bezos reportedly has on purchasing the New York Jets if they were ever to become available. And so the fact that this wouldn't discourage Mike Vrabel from at least hearing out, of course, doing the interview, but it's a little bit of a back and forth there, right? Hearing out what it is that Woody Johnson will be looking to get accomplished outside the obvious Super Bowl, but what does it look like? What does he envision? Is it trusting what the head coach and GMs will be bringing in, or is Woody Johnson already coming in and saying, I need you to be hot out of the gate. Here's some of the moves or positions we expect to be at the forefront of being rebuilt, etc., etc. That would be a vastly different kind of approach, I'm sure, that many people wouldn't be used to walking in through the door, right? Already having a huge proponent of your game plan and your expectations for the rebuild already being set in stone by said ownership, right? So looking at the situation, I think still Mike Vrabel is definitely one of the top candidates for us, right? As mentioned, a winning record, has the former head coach experience. A lot of people felt like he vastly overachieved during his time with the Titans, where he's seen Ryan Tannehill look like an MVP candidate, where he was one game away from reaching the Super Bowl and had his team looking like it was AFC Championship caliber, with Tannehill at the helm, with Corey Davis being his top option, with not really having a tight end that is elite tier at the time. having Derrick Henry out there looking like the best running back in the league, and of course the offensive line, and not to mention the defense and all the accolades that they picked up, right? And then you take a look at him coming from Bill Belichick and that tree, obviously, as well. And one of the things that I think has gone unspoken enough is the fact that he was one of the few disciples of Bill Belichick to go onward and not really usher in the Patriots way. It really was kind of this new creation of Mike Vrabel based on what he picked up, how he wanted things to go. And I love that atmosphere, right? And then lastly, the fact that it seems like he definitely instilled a culture during his time with the Titans is huge, because that's going to be one of the critical things that you hear come up a lot for the New York Jets in this next search is, what's the identity? What's the culture? How are you fostering this atmosphere of accountability? What will be different that Mike Vrabel can employ to hopefully get the ear and the attention of a lot of these New York Jets? And then, of course, the fan base. But obviously, can we get the proven results on the field? That's ultimately what matters. We've heard a ton of head coaches talk about how great the practices were, and they understand why they're translating, etc., etc. The job of Mike Vrabel or anybody else that comes in is going to be results, and it's probably going to be immediate, even though there's going to be some leeway, maybe 1 or 2 years before you start hearing about hot seat talk. But we'll see, man. I think obviously here, though, the good news is, I want to say that if you hear Mike Vrabel is interested, then that maybe gives hope to imagine that with the due diligence we do, we still get a chance to talk to guys like Ben Johnson or an Aaron Glenn or a Cliff Kingsbury or any of the other coaches that have come up and we've talked about and are on the radar. So let me know what you guys think ultimately about the news, Mike Vrabel's interest, maybe potentially how quick we can interview him. I think since he's only a consultant for the Browns, it's not necessarily the same thing as him being a head coach or like in employment of the Browns. So if we wanted to pursue a head coach before a GM, I think we could interview him as soon as we wanted to. But again, let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and I'll catch you again. Peace.